Okay, in my ongoing attempt to try to get people interested in the Wyvern card game, partly because it's an affordable card game that you can get into that won't cost you a ton of money, and it's a lot of fun to play with family and friends. I'm going to show today. I'm going to show you my constructed Dragon Slayer deck. But before I do that, and that is this deck right here. Before I do that, I'm going to show you a fun way to play Wyvern with casual decks, where you take starter decks and you make decks from them, or just open a deck and play with it, or open a couple and make a better deck. One of the things that you'll have to use in the Wyvern game are Dragon Slayers. And there are different ones. There's Beowulf. He can slay any dragon of 0 or less strength. He's free. Then you can play Sigurd for 1 gold. He can slay any dragon of 2 or less strength. And then there's Lancelot, who can slay any dragon of 3 or less strength, but now he costs 2 gold. And finally, Cadmus, who can slay any flying dragon. Now, there are a couple more. There is, let me grab it real quick. I realized I probably should have it here. Okay, we do have other Dragon Slayers in the game. You probably won't see Sir Galahad because he's from the Phoenix set. Unless you get him, you won't have him available. So he's won't be in the regular game. If you get lucky and you open the rare, oh, do I not have the rare Jason? Well, let me show you Jason. Hold on. Well, I can just find it right here. You might get lucky and open the rare Jason for 3 gold. He'll slay any dragon. I wish it said slay, not kills, since it's a dragon slayer, but instead of being called a dragon killer. But you know, that's just me being nitpicky. There is another rare dragon slayer that you might get if you're lucky, and that is Seth. And he basically attempts to slay a terrain. And if he fails and hits a dragon, your opponent doesn't have to pay for the dragon. It's a free dragon for them. So it's okay, though. You're still trying to slay. And lastly, the least important, well, no, this isn't last. There's 2 more. This is the least important Dragon Slayer in the game, Thor, because there are very few subterranean dragons in the basic game. So you don't want to play him unless you know that your opponent's got some subterranean dragons. Don't bother. It's just not worth it. But then we do have good old St. George. Where is my St. George? Is he over in the back? Yeah, there he is. So St. George can slay a treasure. An odd thing, since it's not a dragon. But it is a dragon slayer that destroys a treasure in play. So those are the various Dragon Slayers. There are other ones from Chameleon, but don't bother with any of them, except maybe the one that slays native terrain dragons if you're heavily into constructed gaming. You're going to see a native terrain dragon in this deck. The other 2 ways to destroy your opponent's dragons is to fight their dragon with your dragon, which is kind of a 50-50 thing. Maybe you'll win the battle, maybe you'll lose. The other is if you're so lucky that they hit one of your killer terrains. If they hit a terrain and it applies, the terrain kills the dragon. If it doesn't, the terrain is destroyed. Now, I changed that rule to the terrain is swapped out. My friend was saying maybe you should keep swapping out until it applies, or if you do swap out and it's a dragon, then it immediately goes to a battle. We might look at that as an optional rule. And otherwise you keep swapping until it applies, like a terrain that applies or something that applies. But right now we just swap out one time and nothing happens. Now, I did make a video of my Dragon Slayer deck a while back. There's probably made several changes to it, which is one reason I'm making this video. And the other is to talk about the casual game with Dragon Slayers. The great thing about Dragon Slaying and why they're so powerful in this game is they're probably going to just kill the dragon. There is no battle. There is no terrain. There is no worry about will the dragon apply to the terrain. The killer terrain may or may not work. Of course, the Dragon Slayer could be countered. The most common card that will counter it is Marina. This is a common card in the game. When you play casual Wyvern, you should have Marinas and your opponent should have marinas to counter the Dragon Slayer. So that is the one main card you have to contend with. There is a rare card called Kiss of Succub that is a very deadly card. The odds are your opponent won't have it, and neither will you. But there is a teeny tiny chance of that happening. There's also a rare card called Magnetic Field, which will counter the play of any action card. Dragon Slayer action, battle action, doesn't matter. So, but those are all rare. When you are playing your casual game of Wyvern, building a Dragon Slayer deck is a really good idea. You'd like to get a bunch of Dragon Slayers in your deck, and these are your main 4 that you're going to be doing. Now, you don't want too many Beowulf. Better to have Sigurd, because he can kill any dragon of 2 or less strength. You do have to pay 1 gold. So I would play, if I were going to try to build a casual Dragon Slayer deck, I would probably run 2 Beowulf. I'd run 3 to 4 Sigurd, if I could get that many. 3 to 4 Lancelot, if I can get that many. This is a lot now. And 1, maybe 2 Cadmus, and 1 or maybe 2 St. George. I don't know why I didn't include St. George in my list. I would not bother with Thor. If you guys are playing best of 3 and you see 2 subterranean dragons in your opponent's deck, then you could bring in a Thor if you had the Dragon Slayer, the Dragon Slayer Thor. But otherwise, don't bother with him. It's just not worth it. It's just going to sit in your hand, and you're going to go, why in the world did I put this in my deck? There's are very few subterranean dragons in the basic game. But there are some other things you can do. If you're playing a Dragon Slayer deck, I would not do this in the constructed game, but in the casual game, this is a good card to have in your hand. It's not a very good card, but when you're playing Dragon Slayers, you want to make sure your opponent doesn't have this in their hand, let alone those rares, Kiss of Succub, Magnetic Field, which they probably won't. So if I would run maybe 2 knowledge, maybe even 3, knowing now if they don't have Marina in their hand, now you don't have to worry. They can't counter it, meaning when you play the Dragon Slayer, let me bring them back up, it's just going to work. And their dragon is just going to die, which makes them very, very powerful. These guys really are the power of the game when played properly. I'm going to show you a couple tricks, though, that you also can do in casual. I actually did this at Gen Con in a basic tournament where we took starter deck and some packs and made a deck. I played Lightning on my opponent's dragon, and he looked at me funny. And then I played Cadmus because I turned his dragon into a flying dragon, and then I just slayed it with Cadmus, and he laughed. He thought that was pretty wild that I did that. And of course, the other one you do is you play Subterranean River and turn their dragon into a subterranean dragon, and then you play Thor. So there's one reason to play Thor. If you're playing like 1 or 2 Subterranean Rivers in your deck, you could play 1, maybe even 2 Thors. If you're going to play 2 Thors, I'd want at least 2 Subterranean Rivers, at least 2. But this is a fun thing to do. I even made a constructed deck based around Cadmus and Lightning, and I called the deck Cadmus Lightning, just because that was a fun name for the deck. But you can play this Lightning on your dragon, turning it into a flying dragon. I played Subterranean River on my flying dragon. I had a big 5-strength flying dragon in the game called Celestial. I plopped this down, sat in the back row, and just attacked any card I wanted to with Subterranean River on it, and I beat the guy. And he couldn't get rid of my 5-strength flying dragon because he needed a flying dragon to attack it. He couldn't even attack it without a flying dragon. So it was really hard for him to get to him. And fortunately, I won that game. So those are some of the fun things. But in a constructed game, it's a little difficult to make your Dragon Slayers work. For one thing, you cannot slay a Wyvern card if it's face down. The dragon has to be turned up, Unless, of course, you're playing that Dragon Slayer Seth, where you attack the face-down card and hope it's a terrain. Outside of that, you're going to need your opponent to attack you. You want your opponent to attack you so that their dragon is face up. So let's go through my dragon deck. I forget how many cards are in here. Okay, there are exactly 20 cards because I didn't want there to be too many. I am only playing one scout. I normally run about 4 scouts in a deck. This might be a mistake, and maybe I should change it to 2 scouts. I'm not really sure. But I don't want to attack. I rarely want to attack. I have the scout to go after terrains, so that's why I say maybe I have a second one, but I'm not really sure. I'm playing Lambton Worm. Lambton Worm is a card that we will not be playing in Constructed unless we are both playing it. It is just, and we probably just won't bother with it anymore. So I would probably replace this with another flying scout. I don't want non-flying scouts. I don't want my scouts to be vulnerable. I'm going to keep them in the back row. I'm really just looking to pick off their terrains. The other dragon that I will attack with is Basilisk. But I'm only going to do this if there's a face-up dragon and I don't have the means to slay it, like maybe it's immune to dragon slayers. There's other reasons. But this guy will kill anything that it hits. He dies too, but it's a great way to take out a problem card. Mostly to go after those dragons that are immune to dragon slayers. All right, then we're going to play a native terrain dragon, partly because his native terrain is swamp. Now, in my opinion, Wyvern made a mistake here. There are 2 native terrain dragons that say ×2, and in my opinion, it should have said +2, or maybe +3. ×2 is ridiculous. There are 12 swamp terrains in this deck. That would make this dragon a 24 strength dragon. That is ridiculous. At +2, the most he could get up to is 14. That's still ridiculous, but that's impossible to do. It's almost impossible to get that high. I'd be out of cards. +2 is much better. One swamp in my discard pile, and now Miasma is a 3 strength dragon for a whopping 2 gold. He only costs 2 gold. This is absurd. At this rate, he should cost 6 gold, if not 8 gold, and I'd still put him in this deck. The ×2 is just a mistake by them. Anyway, we'll probably change it when we play to +2. So, 4 swamp holes kills dragons of 2 or less strength. Now, in my rule, when their dragon hits the terrain, if it doesn't apply, the terrain is just swapped out, which I want it swapped out because it adds to the native terrain dragon's strength. He gets stronger with each swamp in my discard pile. I need them in my discard pile. That's how you determine his strength, which is swamp ×2. Because his strength is 0 to start. He's no good. So I do not want to attack with him. And initially, he's going to sit in the back row, hopefully not get attacked. And I'm going to force my opponent to attack me. And these terrains will go into the discard pile regardless of whether they work or not. If they kill the dragon, they go in the discard pile. If they don't apply to the dragon, they get swapped out. So 4 swamp holes that kills 2 or less strength. Then we have 4 regular swamps, which these will attach to the dragon, which will count for the native terrain dragon in a battle with that dragon. So if your dragon has a swamp on it, my native terrain dragon attacks with a +2 strength because you have a swamp attached. So 4 swamps, 4 swamp holes, and 4 Swamp of Lernia. Swamp of Lernia says a dragon in the Swamp of Lernia may be killed by any dragon slayer, regardless of what the dragon slayer card says. I so want their dragons to hit my Swamp of Lernia, because now I can kill it with anything. I can kill it with St. George, who only goes after treasures. I can kill that dragon with Seth, who can normally only take out terrains. Now it doesn't matter. The Swamp of Lernia, any dragon slayer slays it. Doesn't matter their strength, doesn't matter anything. But this is a hard terrain to make work, but I love the way it looks. It's a very, very cool card. It made my video of best looking terrains. This is one of them. Then I have 4 more slots, so I said 4 more killer terrains. We've got 2 pits for the 3 or less strength dragons, 1 frozen lake for the 4 or more strength dragon to take out their big dragon, and finally kill any flying dragon. I could take one of these pits and turn it into an island. Maybe I should do that, but I'm not really sure. So that is my Dragon Slayer deck. There's not a lot to fight with. There's only 4 dragons to fight with. Lambton Worm is just here to swap out to get a battle position back. Like I said, we probably won't be playing it. I'll probably bring in Amphitheater, a flying scout, or Pan Lung possibly. And that will be my 4 dragons that I can fight with. There's not a lot here to fight with. So I need my opponent's cards to be faced up. I need him attacking me. And then I need to be able to slay, and hopefully he can't counter my Dragon Slayers. It's not easy to do. So we're starting with Valhalla. I'm going to run 4, or I should say I'm running 4, because if they destroy Valhalla, I need to have another one in play. This is what makes the deck work. When the Dragon Slayers don't cost you anything, you don't have to worry about gold. So 4 copies of Valhalla, making all of them free. Then we've got a bunch of Dragon Slayers. Now, I think it's just 1 St. George. Just 1. I could go with 2, but 1 is probably all I really need, and you'll see why. 1 Cadmus, or 2 Cadmus, I should say. Maybe this should only be 1. I'm not quite sure. I'm going to leave these in the same order. So 2 Cadmus. Now, I'm not running any Beowulf or any Sigurd. Partly because Valhalla makes them free, so why bother with Beowulf or Sigurd, the 0 or 2 strength Dragon Slayers, who may or may not be able to slay a dragon, where Lancelot will slay most dragons in the game. Most dragons in this game are 3 or less strength. So we're skipping Beowulf and Sigurd, and we're running 4 Sir Lancelot. And then for the big dragons, 4 or more, we are running 3 Sir Galahad. And we are running 4 Jason, because Jason can slay any dragon. Doesn't matter to dragon. So 4 Jason, hopefully for free. If I can play him for free, then I'm just in a really good spot. And I've got to be able to take out their terrains. I've got to be able to destroy their terrains. I'm only running 1 scout. Like I say, I might run 2, but at least I've got 4 Seth that can hopefully destroy their terrains. And if their dragon is turned face up, I want that. So I'm not concerned at all if I hit their big dragon and they didn't have to pay for it. And they're really happy because they didn't have to pay any gold. And I'm like happy as a clam. I got your dragon face up. He's going down next turn, hopefully. Hopefully. We'll see how that works. Now, I have no battle action cards in this deck other than 2 copies of Badger. For those times when I get into battles, and it will happen, I hopefully will have 1 Badger in my hand, and I will trade hands with my opponent and hopefully win the battle. This is the only way I'm going to win the battle. Of course, I have Basilisk, so Basilisk just end the battle. Nobody plays battle action cards with Basilisk. But for my scouts and for the Lambton Worm and for Miasma, the native terrain dragon, Badger is my only hope to win. Well, Miasma can be a super, super big dragon, but this gives me the 1 shot. Now, I'm not running more than 2 because if I have 2 of these in my hand, playing 1, then my opponent will just play the other one and we'll switch back. So having 2 means there's a decent chance I'll have 1 in my hand. Rarely should I have both in my hand. This would normally be a sideboard card, Hercules. But I don't have a sideboard built for this deck. If I did, probably I might leave 1 in the main, but I don't think so. It takes any dragon that's immune to Dragon Slayers and says no. Now I can slay it. I could run 2 of these in the main without a sideboard, but I'm just running 1 for now. 1 Volcanic Eruption, because in Constructed you're only allowed 1, and that's how we play. And then the possibility that my opponent is running a Marina or a Kiss of Lessucube or Magnetic Field. Magnetic Field is probably going to be in their hand. I'm running just 2 copies of King Arthur so that they can't counter my Dragon Slayer that I'm about to play. This is an odd card to pay 2 gold so that you can't counter my Dragon Slayer. To me, this card should only cost 1 gold, and I don't know if Mike Fitzgerald would agree with me or not. Let's put it that way. But I would make it a cost of 1 gold because that seems like a lot to do something that may or may not do a darn thing for you. If they have no way to counter it, it's not going to matter. And I'm not running knowledge. All right, so this is how I get back my Dragon Slayers with the Volcanic Eruption, the 1 copy, and just 3 copies of Grave Diggers, because this can become expensive. I could run 4, maybe I should. I'm still hemming and hawing about do I run 3 or 4, but we rarely play these days. I haven't been playing any Wyvern with anybody, so it really doesn't matter right now. All right, I've got to be able to fill up my graveyard with swamps. I still want to, but I can't do that. If you use a Dragon Slayer, there is no battle actions, there is no swapping out. Town gets around that. Town allows me to replace 2 cards and still do a Dragon Slayer action. So Town is an absolute must in your constructed Dragon Slayer deck. It is a great card in your Dragon Slayer deck. It's also a great card for native terrain dragons. It allows you to put 2 cards in your discard pile and still do a what is it in your battlefield this turn and do a Dragon Slayer action or a battle phase. So you can swap 2 cards and still attack, which is pretty wild because normally you can only attack or swap out. You can't do both. So Town's a very cool card, very well designed card. And now I have 8 cards that force my opponent to attack me. They might take out my terrain. They might attack me with a swamp. That's the one fear. That's why Sirens is good, because if they have a face-up scout, then I can play Sirens and they can't attack with the face-up scout. They have to attack with a face-down dragon, if possible, of course. So there's still a chance. But 4 Sirens to force them to attack, turning up their dragon, and 4 turn the tables. Now they can hit me with a scout, though. But I could have in the sideboard things like the card Zeus that says no scouts can attack this turn. I could put Beowulfs in my sideboard if I was to build a sideboard. I probably would, because you're not guaranteed to have Valhalla in play, so Beowulf will take out those scouts. But I don't think it's too much of a problem. I mean, it kind of is a problem because scouts can wreck me. That is kind of an issue, but hopefully I can slay them immediately on the next turn with whatever Dragon Slayer I have in my hand. But if I needed to, I would probably have 4 in my sideboard. And lastly, to keep my deck full of cards, I got to run 4 Meteor Showers. It's a little risky because that's a lot. Maybe I should run 4 Whirlpools for card draw. Maybe. But that doesn't get you replenished like Meteor Shower. Meteor Shower really replenishes your hand. It replenishes your opponent's hand too, so it's a little risky, but I think I have to do it. So that is my constructed Dragon Slayer deck. Tricky deck to play, fun deck to play, depending on the kind of deck your opponent is playing. If they're playing big dragons or anything involving lots of dragons, this is fun. This is a fun challenge to see if you can force them to attack, turning up their dragon, and then can you successfully slay their dragon, or will they be able to stop you? And then, of course, the killer terrains is just that one other way to pull off a victory, let alone your big native terrain dragon, Miasma? I keep forgetting his name. Yeah, Miasma. Cool looking swampy thing. Very, very swampy looking dragon. All right, hope you enjoyed looking at this Dragon Slayer deck. Hope you like the little suggestions for your casual game. Building a casual Dragon Slayer deck is a lot of fun. Definitely one of the best casual decks you can build is a Dragon Slayer deck. But make sure you've got a lot of strength modifiers regardless in your deck. And play Armor and Marina to counter their Dragon Slayers and to counter their strength modifiers, because they're going to play those cards too, and That's where all the tension is in Wyvern, which makes this a lot of fun to play. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.